I can creation sings your praises, so will I. All right. So will I. Sing God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, stood up into your word. And for once you have spoken, all nature and science, they follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, oh, a heart in rebellion, creatures catch breath. They're evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you say. Every pain is sky, it's a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. Come on, let's give him praise for this morning, 9 o'clock. Lift up his name, come on. All right, let's make his name known this morning. If the stars, your voice. If the stars, the mountains, if if the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. Everything, for if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. Oh, if the wind goes where you sing, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sum of all our praises still falls short, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. Of salvation, oh, you chased down my heart from all of my failure and pride. Get out this music. On it. The light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. But we know the story doesn't end there, amen? Come on. And as you, oh, 100 billion failures, oh, they disappear. Lord, when you lost your life, so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've done. Let's go. Every part designed in a work of art. could amount to your desire. You're the one who never leaves, the one.
It's the anti-checker.
We will return to your scheduled programming shortly, or we are currently experiencing technical difficulties.
Death to Corona!
Dang it. This has just not been a good day. Sorry. Thank you for... I know now everybody's going to put in the comments because of the delay that there's no sound, even though I have sound. I give up. I frickin' give up. Alright, so first and foremost, let me say that I'm a humble apology to Cinnabon Bunny. Although, you see, this wouldn't happen if he would just change his username like I suggested, but that's okay. He's not going to do that. Then, you know, he has to live with the repercussions. In all seriousness, no, I am sorry to step on Cinnabon's toes. I assume, and I don't know because I didn't see his stream at all. I assume that he started his stream because I didn't, and figure, well, if Rational Roundtable's not going to stream, I will. And then, of course, I start streaming, and which is, you know, just kind of what it is. So here's what happened was after church, church gets out a little after 10, had to stop at the store on the way, plus Darren Wagner sent me a package, so I had to stop at the post office, which reminds me, it's downstairs, so I need to have Joshua bring it up. So since I see Darren's here, I don't know what's in it yet, so I want to see, but I need to have it in order to open it. Let's see. All right. Anyway, so we had to stop at the post office, had to stop at the store, and then I was like, well, we're not going to have time to get anything to eat, so stopped at McDonald's to grab a quick bite, and that put me really, really late, and here I am. So, back to the chat we go until, hopefully, Joshua gets my message and brings up that package. Thomas says hi was first and that Cinnabon is streaming. 47 says hello. Resolute says hello. Kronos says first. Richard Hawkins says hello. Kronos says, oh, daggummit. Okay. Aberjam says, greetings, brother. Hey, Aberjam, and yes, I do have your song. I know that I played the old credits, but that's because I haven't had a chance yet to get the song adjusted. I didn't realize the green screen's looking a little wonky. Let me adjust the lighting a bit. I'm still learning these new lights, so let me see if I can adjust. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Oh well, I'm not gonna worry about it. It's not gonna kill me. Not Ryan John says hello out there in YouTube land. Josh says you stole Cinnabon's viewers. Yeah. Keep making me feel guilty. Kinda late, aren't you? Says Kronos. Yes. And I just explained that. Isaiah says better late than never. Wesley says greetings, not anti-checker. That's yes. Let's see. Kronos says the bunny is not happy. Well, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to step on the bunny's toes. So thank you. And so this is the package that I'm talking about. So this came from Darren Wagner. So we're going to open this up right now. and see what we got in here. We have... Aha! One of the ships that I think would make an excellent, better ship than the Defiant, the Saber class starship, compact, low profile starship from the, of course, later next gen era. I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Saber class first showed up in First Contact, but I could be wrong about that. And so this is actually, this is nice because you only kind of see it from this angle, so you don't really get a good idea what this part is. But you see, I never realized until just now how well defined the secondary hull on the Saber is. So yeah, I absolutely think that something like this should have been what we got on Deep Space Nine rather than the Defiant. I think this would have been a much better representation of where they were going for, as far as a small, compact, only with necessary systems in it type of ship. So there you go, the Saber class starship. Thank you, Darren. You are a gentleman and a submariner. So I am let me put this on its little stand here. Let's assume that goes on that way. And Darren says, I like ugly ships too. Well, I'm not going to say it's not the prettiest ship in the fleet, but I don't think it's the ugliest, because unlike the Defiant, the Saber really feels like the practical warship that I know that they were kind of going for with the Defiant. There it is with the stand. I think that the Saber feels like this is the escort ship that the Defiant was trying to be, and feels, quite frankly, more like a Federation starship. That's the thing. Defiant doesn't look like a Federation starship to me. It looks like a knockoff of the Millennium Falcon, quite frankly. All right, back to the chat, or else I'll just spend the whole day talking about starships. Aberjam says, greetings. Not Ryan Jensen said, hello out there in YouTube land, and I think I already read that. Josh says, you stole Cinnabon's viewers. I'm pretty sure I read that. Chrono says, kind of late. I know I read that one. All right, let's see. The bunny's not happy. Oh, man, I just pissed off Cinnabon. I feel bad about that now. Cinnabon comes here, man. I'm going to feel horrible. Late night streams and knackered knees will surely put you out of kilter. That is very true, my friend. And it's not just that. I tell you, one of the most annoying things about like post-surgery is I have been itching non-stop since October. And I'm not making that up. I have been absolutely itching non-stop since October. And they keep saying, oh, take antihistamines. The problem is I've been taking so many antihistamines for the last couple of months that now I'm building up a tolerance to antihistamines, so it's not working. So I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end with some of this stuff. And it's like I can't get any freaking help. It's just... All right, so I asked people to apologize for me. Thomas says that Bird of Prey told Cinnabon, and Bird of Prey says he's fine with it. But he's not here, so he couldn't be that fine with it. Captain Trek says hello to Resolute. Schromer says, greetings, Rational Roundtable and fellow nerds. Hey, my friend. Wesley says, you're late. We already did a stream. I'm sorry. Schromer says, hashtag free Auntie. Auntie's right there sleeping. No, I guess you're awake, aren't you, girl? And, yeah, Martok was a changeling when he said Hail Kuroga. Let's see. Chrono says no sound. Okay, that's where I had it muted. Man, I am already far behind. Bird of Prey also told us the best thing to see in New York City is the naked cowboy. Wow. I don't know anything about a naked cowboy in New York City, so, Sci-Fi Nation is here, says, greetings, you big bunny streaming killing jerk. Thanks. Darren says, good morning, nice shirt. Thank you. I actually like this shirt. This is it's comfortable and it's good for wearing to church. I actually got it at the Renaissance Fair. Chrono says, your stream sobered up Bunny stream kind of like the blob. Or sorbed up? Sopped up, maybe. So it's Darren's fault. Yes, it's Darren's fault. Wesley likes the shirt as well. Chrono says there's a lot of excuses for being late. That was a lot of, well, that's not, I'm not trying to make excuses. I don't feel good about it. It just is what it is, but I thought you guys deserve an explanation. That was a lot of it. I already read that. Man, I am off today. Daniel says, good day, Reverend Anti-Checker. I saw the last episode of Picard Stardust City. Egypt died. His eyes got ripped out. Ew. Yes, that was rather graphic. Although, oh gosh, what was it? Continuum did a recent live stream where he kind of did an interesting comparison of the gore throughout Trek. And if you look at some of the gore in prior Trek, not really the original series so much, but if you look at some of the stuff that happened in Next Gen and especially Voyager, really what we saw of Egypt wasn't the goriest thing we've ever seen. It's just the way that it was shot that I think was a little, I mean, it was like, hey, let's zoom the camera in on the gore so that we can show you how gory it is, because gore. All the kids like gore, right? I only get you the ships I like. Well, that's all right, Darren. I'm okay with that. And you know what? The Saber class is one that, like I said, you're right. It's not the prettiest ship in this fleet, but it does. To me, that's what the Defiant should have looked like. Let's see. Chrono says it's not the ugliest or the worst looking ship. No, it's not. Debuted in First Contact. Yes, that's what I thought. I just wasn't 100% sure. Rambling Canuck, my pain brother, says hello. How you doing, my friend? Aberjam says, I feel a little insensitive of Picard to wear to wear an eye patch, given that Seven's adopted son had his eye brutally ripped out. I don't think Picard knew about that, though, to be fair. Do you have time to... let's see. Roberta Prey says, do you have a time you have to end the stream by just planning my listening day? Yes. Well, I do have to end my stream in about an hour and 8 minutes because I do work today. So, yeah, that's why I don't like getting my Sunday stream started. Actually, any daytime stream right now, I hate when I get it started late because it messes everything up. And I'm truly sorry about that. But I can't just not go to work. At least not yet. I hope that one day... if this was my full-time job, then I'd say, screw it, and just keep streaming until Bird of Prey was like, okay, I need to start my stream now, and then let him go. Kind of reminds me of those buggy Dominion ships. In a way, yeah, the Saber class does kind of look like a Jem'Hadar fighter. I wonder if the idea was that they got inspired by the Jem'Hadar design. Thomas says, someone buy him a Discovery. Yes, I could always use something to put the gasoline I have in the garage on. Daniel says, Reverend Andy Checker, do you think they will blow up the Borg cube in the next episode? No. The Saber looks like the Miranda class, and that's always a good thing. It is kind of like, it's funny because, now Darren mentioned in one of his upcoming videos and I agree with him on this, is that the Nebula class ship looks like it was supposed to be the equivalent to a Miranda class to the Galaxy as the Miranda is the Constitution. However, it fails miserably on this. However, the Saber class really could have worked as the 24th century equivalent to the Miranda. Darren likes the shuttle bay in the front. Well, that's because you're a weirdo. Alexander says you need the USS Sandwich. I don't know what, would they fire baloney? Not sure what that would be. Cinnabon is here, says, I'm not mad at all. Well, I appreciate that, Cinnabon. I truly, truly do. You are a gentleman and a scholar, even if you won't change your username to the proper name of Elnor Bunny. Chrono says, Cinnabon is here, and Cinnabon says, I've been here. The timer put you behind. Yeah, I'm sorry. And let's see. Captain Trek says, I am Bird o' Prey 5 behind. I'm only 4 minutes behind. Jeez, I'm not bad. I just watched TNG, The Neutral Zone, and I have to admit the ending was almost as graphic as the last episode of Star Trek Picard. The Neutral Zone? I don't remember the end of the Neutral Zone being graphic. Now, the ending of Conspiracy was pretty graphic, even if the visual effects were not up to modern standards. And other things that they've shown, like that Continuum also mentioned on his stream, are things like the death of the captain. I can't remember her name, but the captain of the Enterprise C, where she had a big old piece of shrapnel in her head. Riker's death in the same episode, he had a big old shrapnel in his neck. There have been lots of gore on Trek. It's just that the way they did it with Icheb felt like it was out of Saw. It felt like gore porn. Cinnabuzz is here. You just keep skipping him. Well, he doesn't put at Rational Roundtable. That's why I didn't see it. But I apologize, Cinnabon, your epicness. Alexander says this is 7 of 9. This is good. Well, I didn't particularly care for the way they dealt with 7 of 9 in this episode. Cinnamon says, I'm on my phone, so typing the at Rational Roundtable is a pain. I understand that completely, Cinnamon. Believe me, I honestly hate putting comments into streams on my phone. It drives me crazy because it doesn't prompt you with the at stuff. But thank you, Cinnabon, for the efforts. Alexander says, the USS Sandwich is the ship of Neelix. You don't remember your own jokes. You know what, Alexander? I don't remember everything I say in these streams. And trust me, my friend, when you start doing 6, 7, 8 streams a week, we'll see how much you remember. So what did you learn in church today? Well, today we did, and we do this every 3 times a year, they did a baptism service. And so, because the pastor and founder of our church believes very strongly that baptism is a very important thing for people to understand. And so we do a baptism service 3 times a year. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go to the baptism service if you want to get baptized. They'll baptize you after any service if you want. But he actually spends the service teaching on the specific topic of baptism. He always uses an interesting analogy where he takes off his wedding ring and he says, this is not my marriage. This is a symbol of my marriage. This is a symbol that says I am married. And then he compares that to what baptism is in the Christian walk. And so, and that, and for people that start asking questions like, do I have to get baptized to get saved and stuff like that? It's like you're asking the wrong questions. So, I view the Akira as the Miranda class. Seems like a lot were destroyed in the war. I like the Akira class a lot. It does have some Miranda-like design elements, but I think that and the Steam Runner, the Akira, and the Saber, I actually like all 3 of those ships. I wouldn't mind, quite frankly, seeing a series based on any one of those. Alexander says, if this is porn, this is good. Alexander, this is the opposite of... Well, are you talking about the Ichab thing? No, it really, I know you're making a joke there, but no, it's not good. And I don't, and I'll be honest with you, I don't like gore porn at all. Like, when you look at... I don't mind horror movies. In fact, I like a good horror movie. And I don't even mind the graphic violence that is usually associated with horror movies. But gore porn? No, thank you. Not interested. I don't want to see people being chopped up into bits and stuff like that just for the sake of seeing that. I don't get off on seeing people suffer, right? So when I see a movie like, say, Saw, where, and I'm talking about the original Saw. I'm not talking about any of the 17 sequels. So the original Saw was a genius premise, right? And it wasn't about the gore of the guy cutting off his foot and all that. It was all the stuff leading up to it, and it was all about the misdirection and all that. And it was really, really interesting. Now, you compare that to a movie like Hostel. Hostel, the only purpose for the film existing at all is to show people getting tortured. And I really don't care for that. And now some people like it and whatever. I think that's kind of weird and wrong, but hey, whatever floats your boat, man. I'm not going to sit there and judge, but I can't get into that. Daniel says, William Shatner says he may be willing to return as Captain Kirk. What would the point be, Daniel? Kirk's arc is done. All right. We saw Kirk from his earliest days in the original series. I'm not counting the J.J. Abrams version because that's an alternate timeline, up to his death in Generations. What do you do after that? Because he's clearly older than he was in Generations. Jeff says, hello, how you doing, my friend? Mr. Lundell says, add gore porn to the list of reasons not to watch Picard. Rational, just another gimmick to grab viewers, a.k.a. clickbait. Well, here's the thing, though, Mr. Lundell, and I'm not going to argue that the gore porn scene of Icheb's death, I did not like it. I found it distasteful, just like I found the effing hubris line distasteful, and I hate that effing hologram distasteful. That kind of stuff doesn't belong in Trek. That being said, that doesn't change the fact that overall I'm enjoying the Picard series. That overall I think the story is good. So, I disagree with you as far as being one more reason to not watch Picard, because it's not. It's a reason to cringe at that scene, but at the same time, I didn't particularly care for the exploding head at the end of Conspiracy. That doesn't change the fact that Conspiracy overall was a pretty good episode. And, but I think the exploding head was gratuitous and silly looking by today's standards. Captain Garrett, thank you, Deck Crash. I could not remember. I'm good to see you, Brandon. Alexander says, I didn't receive any comics this week, and I work over 80 hours this week. It was a rough one. I'm sorry, Alexander. I actually have, just a couple of books that Darren would want to hit me if he saw, so I won't show them. Alexander says, it was sad the lack of dead in Punisher Warzone. I was sad of the lack of dead in Punisher. You see, but here's the problem there, Alexander. If a movie is nothing but a body count to you, then what's the point? Seriously, what's the point? Because to me, it's got to be about character. It's got to be about story. It's got to be about lore. If you don't have those types of things in there, then all the gore in the world doesn't make it any better. The gore should have meaning to it. And the problem is, we hadn't seen Icheb for 20 plus years. Heck, give him an episode or two to build up, what would have been better, in my opinion, is if you, even if you didn't change the Icheb death scene, would be if you had a couple of flashbacks with Seven and Icheb working together before this flashback where we see Icheb's death. See what I'm saying? When St. Patrick was evangelizing Ireland, he accidentally drove his staff through a king's foot. When asked why he didn't cry out, the king said, if this is all that is required for my salvation after what Jesus did, I was happy to endure. If you ask, do I need baptism, you need more instruction. If you have to ask, do I need baptism, you need more instruction. Indeed, Schromer. And the thing about baptism is that when people ask about questions like, do I have to get baptized? Where Corey, our pastor, what he was saying is like, you know what? He didn't use that. That's a great story, by the way, about St. Patrick, but he said, you know what? If you seriously have to ask that question, what are you asking? Are you literally asking what's the least I have to do? Because he said, imagine this. Imagine that you meet the girl of your dreams. You ask her to marry you. You go to the church. You get the wedding. And then as soon as you get home from the wedding, you say, honey, what is the least amount I have to do to keep you from divorcing me? How does that make any kind of sense? So Mark 80 says gore porn is a scam to keep FX people employed. Alexander says Kirk could come back as a Force ghost. Well, that would be different. The Saber Bridge is also located more towards the front of the saucer, which gives the starship an almost shuttle feel. It does, but you could also see how much smaller it is in comparison to other classes. It's still a relatively big ship, but it's small in comparison to, say, a Galaxy class or something like that. DJ got Alexander to crack up laughing, putting a bunny head on right now. Last night. Oh, man, I wish I could have seen that. I thought it was hilarious that we exposed Alexander's troll-like behavior on a live stream earlier this week. I think Roddenberry's vision of the future was often overly idealistic, especially in the swearing being lost on them department. Well, I disagree with you on that, Deck. And first of all, let me say this. Roddenberry's vision has nothing to do with Star Trek. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but it's true. The only Trek that is Roddenberry's vision is the Cage, the original pilot, Star Trek the Motion Picture, the first film, and the first season and a half-ish of Star Trek The Next Generation. That's it. Everything else has nothing to do with Gene effing Roddenberry. Okay? Other than the fact that his name is in the titles, has nothing to do with him. He did not have creative control over Trek. Now, he did write a couple of stories and along the way, but he did not have creative control over the series. People like to think that this is all about Gene's vision. No, it really isn't. You know what Gene did? Gene, when the canonization of the idea that cursing is a lost thing with Star Trek 4, that was Leonard Nimoy's idea, not Gene Roddenberry's. So, let's get that straight. Now, anyway, but as far as why is that overly idealistic to think that we don't need to resort to foul language all the time? How is that overly... You know what? I support that idea. I've said I don't mind if people curse. I mean, I'm not a prude. I was in the military and everything. I get it. I don't mind it. But... that being said, if you're making an argument and you have to swear to get your point across, you've already lost in my book. You know, and I've gotten into debates with people, and you know this, Deck Crash, from back in my days when I was engaging with atheists in debate all the time. And you have somebody who just curses. To me, it's like, what a joke. Can you try saying a sentence without throwing a foul language in there that's just trying to offend me into going, oh my God, my poor little ears? You know, come up with something better. Like an actual rational argument. That would be nice. Mr. Londell says, Anti-Trek is turning into Ketwalski. Wow, that hurt. I don't think I'm like Ketwalski. Other than the fact that I assume Ketwalski likes Picard, but Ketwalski also, didn't he like Discovery, which I would definitely not agree with him on that. We'll see what happens with Discovery Season 3. Darren says, what books would I hit you for owning? Anything written by Paul Jenkins. Because I bought a couple of his books, because after talking to him, I'm curious to see about what he did with a couple of characters, so... Norma woke me up today. She jumped on my chest and rubbed her paws back and forth onto my shirt. Aren't cats great for that? They want to make sure that when they get up, you get up. Daniel says, Picard prevented Soren from firing trilithium into the sun and preventing the Nexus from coming. Time travel rules. Kirk is still in the Nexus. Yeah, so I don't want to... You know what? He's still... Whatever. He's still dead. And no, because in the final version of history, Kirk came out of the Nexus, and maybe there's a ghost of Kirk in the Nexus, and there we go back to Alexander's Force Ghost theory. So, but I don't want to see him as a Force Ghost. Punisher or Judge Dredd need a good story and many deaths. This is a perfect match. It is not a perfect match. First of all, yes, the character Punisher and Judge Dredd, lots of deaths and gore and stuff kind of goes with it. And as long as it's not gratuitous, I don't have a problem with it. But I don't think that the presence of gore and death elevates a story. I just don't. Deck Crash says, haven't seen the two most recent episodes of Picard. Spoilers. Well, sorry, buddy. You're in the wrong channel if you want me to censor spoilers from Picard, because I talk about Picard all the freaking time. After all, it is the only currently running Trek show until Discovery Season 3. If they wanted swearing in Star Trek, I'd be okay if it was contemporary to their timeline, but 21st century vernacular doesn't belong. We don't use curse words from the 16th century, do we? Exactly, Aberjam. And that's the thing. Like, that's where I can respect things like the Battlestar Galactica curse words, frack and feltercarp and all that. Because at least they're creating their own vernacular, right? But in Trek, it's like, really? In 300 or 400 years, cursing hasn't upgraded at all? Aberjam says, I'm not sure if the baptism question is always doing a minimum, but sometimes it's like, is everything fine else I do in vain if I'm not baptized? Well, that's actually a better question, but what should be the question is, how do I get baptized right now? And that's the thing, is that it shouldn't be I'll get around to it. It should be, let's get it done. That's the idea. There shouldn't be a period of time that you have the opportunity to get baptized and you don't, assuming you're a believer. So from the time that you become a believer to the time that you get baptized should be the shortest amount of time possible. Now, that being said, if you are, and this is where you get into I've gotten into serious arguments with people that support the idea of baptismal regeneration. The concept of baptismal regeneration is that you are saved by baptism, which is a load of crap. You are saved by Christ. You are not saved by being dunked in water, but being dunked in water is an outward symbol of that inward commitment that you have to Christ, that you die to yourself and that you now live for God. If you're not willing to take that step, then, you need to question what your motives are. Alexander says, if you ask baptism only to be saved, you believe in God and you should assume it. I don't believe in any supreme being, so I'm not searching for any safety net. Yep, well, you will be. Captain Trek says, swearing does not bother me, but there are people who swear every few words, and yes, I'm offended. Well, that's the thing. I understand some people swear a lot, some people don't, right? Like Ensign Ricky. Love Ensign Ricky. Great guy. Swear, like, every other word out of his mouth is the F word sometimes. That's just the way he talks. Does that bother me? No, sometimes it makes me cringe a little because if he's on my channel and I don't like swearing that much on my channel, and that's like just a little less. But it doesn't make me think any less of Ensign Ricky. Now, if he and I were having an argument and basically swear words became the core of his argument, then that would be different. And if you've watched Ensign Ricky's videos, you know he doesn't need to swear to get his point across, because he doesn't swear in his videos. Deckcrash says, it's because foul language has existed for as long as there have been humans, not saying that that moment in Picard wasn't distasteful. I agree with you on that. Well, that's the thing, though, is that I understand, but and this is what I think you're perfectly exemplifying here, Brandon. But a lot of people have, this is like the only argument in defense of the swearing and stuff in Trek. But it makes no sense to me. And that is that it's realistic that there would still be swear words. That it's realistic that people have always sworn, people always will swear, there will always be foul language, blah, blah, blah. So what's wrong with you? Why are you being such a prude, basically? But here's the problem. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. We've always had swear words. And you know what we've also not had? We've not had swear words in Trek, except for that stupid line in Generations. Which, rules of time travel, that never happened. But because of course that was the first time around. We don't know what happened the second time around. Anyway, the oh crap line from Data was absolutely stupid. It was gratuitous and it was done just to get a cheap laugh. And that was just the absolute worst type of insertion of graphic content into a movie. And the thing is, though, is that if you look at Kirk and Picard and Sisko and Janeway and Archer, you know what? With all of them, the strongest thing you heard was damn and the occasional hell, right? That was it. That was 21st or 22nd through 24th century swearing, was hell and damn. And you know what? For 50 plus years, nobody had a problem with that. But now they got to drop the F-bomb whenever they can, because What? Why? We don't want kids to watch Star Trek anymore? You know how many scientists were inspired by watching Star Trek as a child? Well, that's going out the window. If you make, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't have shows for adults, but Star Trek shouldn't be one of them. Darren says, I always felt embarrassed. Common profanity is inherently less effective than coming up with something clever. Yeah. I didn't get the vibe that Seven and Bajazil, however, you had an intimate relationship. I took it that Bajazil was unable to capture the most prized ex-Borg, Seven. Well, I don't know. I know that some people are saying that. Like, I know that's what Rock Solid said in his review that I posted yesterday. I don't necessarily agree with him on that. I can kind of see how you could get that, but quite frankly, yeah, I didn't get that vibe either. Here, cursing is part of the culture. We do it without searching anything else. It's not strategic. This is natural. We have the reputation to be the world champion of cursing. Well, then I'm glad I don't live there. Paul Jenkins is a good writer. He knows how to turn a phrase. I really disagree with most of the choices he's made with established characters. I know, I understand that, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, I bought his Origin of Wolverine book, and so I'm going to read that when I get a chance. The film Joker had more impact for how it used violence. Yeah, but here's the thing. Yeah, and Joker is a great example, and Joker is a great movie. Right here. I paid for it, right? I got it. And Joker is a great movie. And yes, it's got some very graphic violence in it, but it uses it extremely effectively. When that shot where De Niro gets shot in the head, holy crap. That's effective gore right there. That's gore that makes you go, whoa! And that's what it should do. The Egypt scene was just graphic for graphics' sake. Deck says, as a sci-fi writer, I have to say the made-up futuristic slang is a mixed bag. I have it in a book I wrote, but only one word. Well, that's the thing, though, Deck Crash, is and I get it. You have to put a lot of thought and care into designing your four-letter words if you're doing that for a sci-fi book. However, and here's the thing. If, like, for example, The Expanse, right? The Expanse has got more four-letter words in it than any other show that I watch. And you know what I think of The Expanse? Best sci-fi show on television right now. I love The Expanse. I think it's a great show. However, they established at the very beginning that this is the world it's going to be. The Expanse is a show for adults. The Expanse is not Star Trek. They're trying to make Star Trek into The Expanse light, and I don't want that. I want Star Trek to be Star Trek. The Expanse can be Expanse. I'm no fan of violence. That said, PG-13 violence gets old after all the years we've had it. People slicing people with swords, but no blood. Well, but here's the thing. If you don't, and I understand where you're coming from with that, but do you really want to see Marvel movies with people getting eviscerated on screen and stuff? Well, and that's the thing. Is this supposed to be something that families can watch together? I've been listening to sermons that deal with how to hear the words of God lately. Good stuff from Derek Prince and John MacArthur. I don't know either one of them. Daniel says, Ed Trigger, this is how you can address Shatner being older in Trek. They can say someone tries to beam Kirk out of the Nexus and transport accident, Kirk gets older. Or you don't bring Kirk back. Darren says, sometimes I consider constant dropping of F-bombs as basically a speech fart, like when someone says, after. Yeah. For some people, that is exactly right. It's just their mannerisms. And so for some people, it's right? For some people, it's For some people, like you said, I'm guilty of that one. And I'm also guilty of So and some people have a few of those things kind of mixed together. And yes, for some people, it's the F word or something like that. Effin'. And I get it. That's fine. That's the way they talk. That's how Ensign Ricky talks. And I'm okay with that, generally speaking. Because I know that he's not trying to be offensive with it. Picard is cursing Klingon before. The idea of curse words wasn't unfamiliar to them. Yes, but that doesn't mean Picard would drop the F-bomb. It just means that he knows that in Klingon culture, cursing is an art form, and he understands that. Because Picard is a linguist. Baptismal regeneration is easily disproved. Jesus explained the same passage of the born of water means physical birth. By implication, the water is amniotic fluid. Yes. I have said before, but Captain Picard said the in French on TNG. Yes, but again, that is a different language. So, Mr. Londell says the O line in Generations wasn't half as bad as you make it out to be and actually plays on Data as a motion chip. It wasn't gratuitous or anything. It just worked. I disagree. I think it was completely gratuitous. Because why would... it's one thing. I understand. For example, when Data drank the horrible drink in the bar, and he says, this is revolting. It's not like he's suddenly saying... lots of contractions and stuff. His language didn't change. It's just that now he had emotional reactions. And now, so to suddenly have him start cursing, huh? And why didn't he keep doing it? Now, I'll tell you what, a really well done use of a curse word in Trek, of a very, for comedic purposes that actually worked very much for me, was Spock saying, just another damn minute, Admiral, at the end of Star Trek 3. Now, the reason that worked was because they spent time in the movie talking about cursing, and Kirk telling him that that's how they talk, and, and all that. And so he was trying to adapt it, even though Kirk told him to stop. Riker did swear an insurrection as well, running from these. I assume that's supposed to be bastards. It was the same in Generations, but it was through running from these bastards. Was it bastards that he said? It was the same as Generations, but it was a cheap line. Yeah, I don't care for it. I don't care. And you know what? That's something that I don't like about the Marvel movies, is that almost every Marvel movie shoves the S word in there somewhere just to kind of adult it up a little bit. And really what that shows me is a juvenile sense from the writers, honestly. And so you're going to read a Paul Jenkins comic before you read Hyperactives #1. I don't blame you. No, I have Hyperactives right here too. I haven't gotten around to reading any of them because I haven't had time, but I'm looking forward to it. I could still kick out a vintage Marvel Comics Conan the Barbarian where Conan calls someone the son of a she-dog. But you know what? Son of a she-dog sounds better to me than son of a bitch. Honestly, that's a better insult to call someone a son of a she-dog. So I don't know who wrote that the first time, but they were brilliant. Fractal Machine says, by 4-letter words, you mean obscenities. Generally, yes. Deck says, totally agree. Just like how they used to try to make Stargate Universe into a copy of the Battlestar Galactica reboot. Well, I haven't seen Stargate Universe yet, so yeah. Sci-Fi Nation says, get off my lawn! Anti-Trekkers / Rational Roundtable 2020. Thomas says, Kirk is dead. End of story. I agree. Daniel says, there's something in Revelations that says if you try to escape the heavens or space, God will pull them down. If you try to escape into the heavens or space, God will pull them. I have no idea what you're talking about there, Daniel. Piano Dean says, no, yours is definitely, here's the thing. Yeah, I do say that one a lot. You got me there, Piano Dean. Jerk. Darren says, I agree that Kirk's story is done. I wasn't entirely pleased with him coming back in Generations. Great characters have endings unless they're comic book superheroes. I agree. I think that the Star Trek 6 was the end of the Kirk arc. Bringing him back in Generations was a horrible mistake. I understand they wanted to get Kirk and Picard together on screen, but man, you should have come up with a better movie. Schwarmer says, I enjoyed the A-Team violence and no one died and little blood. The writers used to have fun going to extremes and still having everyone walk away unhurt, even from 200-foot drops and explosions. Yeah, but that was all like just an in-universe gag, but it was like, really? I mean, these guys unloaded more ammunition, and the good guys, the A-Team is the only TV show where shooting someone with a machine gun is the equivalent of getting punched. Piano Dean says, no, I'm sorry. What do you think? I do say that one a lot, too. Wesley says, so how about those politics? Well, they're political. I'll tell you, the Democrats are just eating each other for breakfast right now. I can't believe that Bernie Sanders is actually out in front. This is going to be an interesting election. If it's Bernie Sanders versus Trump, Wow. I will love watching that debate happen. I think the most common tick is jerk. I do say that one a lot. It's an aversion from aversion from obscenity biblical? I don't recall anything of the sort. Actually, yes. The Bible does say to speak with a respective tone and to not use harsh language. The Bible does, in fact, say that. Did you mean Star Trek 4? Is the one with the use? Yeah. Did I say a different one? Yeah, but Star Trek 4 when Spock says just another damn minute. Did I say Star Trek 3? I keep getting those two confused. I don't know why. They're nothing like each other, but yes. When he was calculating the time travel to go back to the future. Data tried a cursing program. It didn't work so well. He stopped using it. This is simple for me, similar to his dating program. I couldn't imagine Bird saying son of a she-dog all the time. Yes, well, with Bird of Prey, that's different. I think if someone asked in Star Trek productions why someone is using archaic vulgarities when they drop the S-bombs and F-bombs, I think someone asked in a Star Trek production why someone is using archaic... I'd like to know. And Isaiah calls me a son of a she-dog. Jerk. We lack of graphics. We lack of graphic series, and they try to fit small graphic elements into other series and a small candy for adult. How is that? I don't understand the way you think, Alexander. How is putting in graphic content? How does that make it any better on its own? Like, if I make a movie, throwing in the F word doesn't make the movie better. Now, it might make the dialogue flow better if it's a natural and organic use of the term. But the F word alone in isolation does not make something better than it would be without it. Same thing with nudity, same thing with graphic violence, anything like that. If you're throwing it in there just to have it, that is what gratuitous means. And I'm against gratuitous use of graphic content of all kinds. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, Kirk, so me, you want you Klingon bastards, what are we waiting for? Well, and in fact, he said in Star Trek 3, you Klingon bastard, you killed my son. Alexander probably knows this better than I, but I believe Roy Thomas was the guy who used son of a she-dog. I like it because it feels like a translation from an ancient tongue. Yeah, it does. Generation of the Enterprise via Demore Sulu is very good. You are wrong. Enterprise Generations sucked. The fact that you have a weird way of thinking what is good and bad, Alexander. You really are kind of obsessed with the female form. Don't get me wrong. I love women. I think women are awesome, but you are obsessed with it, my friend. You need help. Each franchise has its own thing. Trek and Stargate got into trouble when they tried to go dark and be BSG. I agree. Daniel says, I miss Obama. Enterprise episode, The Expanse, Tucker says, maybe you should pay more attention to upgrading your weapons so you blow the hell out of those bastards. Yes. Hell. Bastards. Damn. Those are the curse words of Trek. You realize that every time you call someone a jerk, a Democrat loses his wings. No, I did not realize that. Darren says, as long as we're talking about things, Anti-Checker says it bugs me. I don't like me and Mrs. Anti-Checker. It should be Mrs. Anti-Checker and I. Well, I'm sorry. Me and Mrs. Anti-Checker both agree that you're full of crap. It really doesn't make so much sense for cursing to be gone in the future. Maybe for humans, but the Federation is made of so many species, mixing cultures, which would mix slang. Well, and that's why they should invent their own slang terms, or and that's the thing. You hear slang terms in other languages, like the Klingon slangs and Romulan slangs, and insults and stuff like that. And I'm okay with that. I think that so if for example, patak, right? That's a great curse word, patak. Use that. What's wrong with that? That was a great curse word that they came up with in TNG. Remember in Voyager when the Doctor used a holo program to simulate a family, his son hung around the Klingons and cursed in Klingon regularly. Clearly the mentality is still a thing. Well, the mentality is still a thing for Klingons for sure. But I think, and obviously the Doctor considered that a bad influence. Captain Trek says, I'll be honest, I'm not okay with the constant F-bombs. Will leave any stream if he comes on to the panel. Sorry. I must choose what is right for me and be blunt. I want to swear a lot because of the pain. I was brought up better. I understand that, Captain Trek. I truly do. And that's the thing. You know, if somebody's doing it and you can't watch it, don't watch it. And I respect that. I think my favorite verbal tick is the Doomcock saying, go ahead and. He uses it in about every sentence. I hadn't noticed that one. I'll have to pay attention next time I talk to Doomcock. Sci-Fi Nation says, the term harsh language is in itself subjective. Therefore, so is what determines what harsh language is. Well, sorry. I think that we all... that's the funny thing is that's why there are, I think that we can argue about that, Sci-Fi Nation, but it's a BS argument. Do you know why it's a BS argument? Because everybody knows what the 4-letter words are. Everybody knows what the 4-letter words are. Basically, anything stronger than hell, damn, or bastard, you know what those words are. You don't need to say, well, that's completely subjective. You don't know. We know. And so that's a false argument. Darren says, the writing and performance of Breaking Bad were so good, few people realize they only dropped one F-bomb during the entire show, which was towards the end, I believe. Well, and you see, that's the thing. If the writing is good, cursing is unnecessary. But at the same time, if a character naturally curses a lot, that's perfectly fine too. Like, Christian in The Expanse, she drops the F-bomb constantly. But that's her character. I would be surprised if she didn't. I think the way more simple you might make it out to be, rich people will end up cursing in certain situations, so making the character swear makes it more believable and relatable. Real people will end up cursing. I don't believe that but here's the thing, Fractal. You can say that, but then why is it that Star Trek was super popular when nobody was cursing and not so popular now that people are cursing? Agnes said, we need graphic Red Sonja movie with Conan as a support character. It will bleed forever. It will bleed forever? What does that even mean? Seriously, you should put your wife first, Mrs. Anti-Trekker and I. Much better. Well, me and Mrs. Anti-Trekker will talk about it. I'm doing that on purpose at this point, right? Deck Crash reminds me of how in Defiance, human parlance became prepared with Vulcan slang and vulgarities. Good portrayal of languages borrowing from others. Well, I don't know Defiance, but I'll take your word for it. The Baku don't curse. Well, I don't remember them cursing. So you're probably right about that. Darren says, didn't TNG have a Romulan put down called Rayu or something like that? I think it was... Yes, it was... oh, man. I'm trying to remember. It was because when the defector, I always forget his name, was insulting Worf and called him a Ptak. And then Picard called him, I don't remember, it's Raoul or something like that, but yes. So then is it okay for all these other aliens to curse but not humans? That's hypocritical double standard. No, it's just what Trek has always been, is that Trek has established itself as a family-friendly program. And maybe you don't want it to be a family-friendly program, I understand that. But like I said, many, many people who became scientists because of inspiration from Trek. Many people who got into technology fields because of Trek, because they were watching Trek as a kid and they were thought, wow, how cool is that, right? True story, the guy that invented the Motorola cell phone got the idea by watching Kirk flip open his communicator. All right, so that's where... but now we're not going to have that, right? Unless, granted, I know that there are some people that think, well, I let my kids watch graphic content because they should be able to be exposed to whatever they want. After all, if my little Susie wants to watch porn, that's okay. Well, you know what? You want to screw up with your kids' heads, you go right ahead. But I'm going to let my kids be kids. Well, my kids are adults now, but you know what I mean. I did let my kids be kids. Once you hear it, you can't go ahead and unhear it. That's true. I played 2 Star Wars video games that say the F word. Well, that's too bad. That's too many, in my opinion, because it certainly doesn't belong in the Star Wars universe. Just checking the time. I was raised that way. Let's see. I was raised in a way that cursing is cursing. The intent, not the actual word, that matters. When I was 10, I tried to say God Gambit, but still got in trouble. Well, okay. The Savage Avengers is an amazing comic. We have Conan, Venom, Punisher, Elektra, Wolverine, and Dr. Voodoo together. It's a great team. Violence at its best. Alexander, you're just being a weirdo. Have you ever you've never watched Defiance? Shame, sir. Nope. Hey, at least you have a missus to talk about. That's true. Alexander says, you should like the Baku. They don't curse. They live like the original Christians. Okay. You don't know much about Christians if that's what you think they lived like. Deck Crash says it was Varu. Thank you. Varu. Did Jesus have the potential to sin, or was it impossible for him to sin? If the latter, doesn't that make his temptations redundant? I would say he could have sinned, but chose not to. But yeah, because you're right. If it was impossible for him to sin, then the temptation would be redundant. In fact, being tempted would be impossible. Resolute says, in retrospect, Defiance was a pretty crappy show. Well, then I'm glad I haven't seen it. Pianodine says, my dad hates swearing so much he would not have even kept watching Star Trek V after Kirk says, God damn it, and loves Trek. Just got up and stormed out the room. Hardcore. Yeah, and I understand. That's one that I know some people are very sensitive to. The GD, if you will. Because that, but the thing is that people, and the reason people are very sensitive to that one in particular, is they think that that is taking the Lord's name in vain. Which technically, yeah, it kind of is, but it's also what people are missing is that just saying the word God in anything other than addressing God directly or talking about God is taking the Lord's name in vain. So if you say, oh my God, which most people don't object to that saying, that's taking the Lord's name in vain. But hey, whatever. What if Trek used the F word as it used centuries ago, mean the stabbing with a stiletto type knife? Person 1, what did you do? Person 2, I effed him, cleans nice. Well, that would be weird. This is not human. This is a big part of the Federation that doesn't curse. That's why I prefer the Klingons. Okay. Fractal says, I think the point sci-fi was trying to make is that not everybody lumps all 4 letter words together. A computer game I play, for example, tolerates the chit word but not cock. Which is weird but here's the thing. And I get that, Fractal, but you know what? It's pretty, you could look over, if anybody that's watched Star Trek for the last 50 years has got a pretty good idea what the vernacular is for the 23rd and 24th centuries. It's clear that the writers of the current show don't know that. That's the problem. They don't know, nor do they respect the canon or the lore that came before them. All they know is that they think they're writing brilliant stuff by having an admiral says sheer effing hubris. Because why? Oh, the kids will love it when we say the F word. It was Commander Riker who corrected the Romulan defector about using bad language in front of Dr. Crusher. I thought this was, no, I don't know about in front of Dr. Crusher. I believe this was in front of Worf. But I'd have to go back and rewatch the episode. But I'm pretty sure that it was Picard when he said, like, when he called Worf a Patak. Picard said that only a, and I can't already forgot, Varu would use such language or something. Similarly to how I don't want to see them using the bathroom, I don't want there to be bathrooms in the future. But I do want there to be bathrooms in the future. I just don't want to see them used in the show. I kind of, and that's the thing, Mr. Ross, I think you raise a good point. Like, do I need to see Picard? Yeah, kind of like in Babylon 5, right? When they showed the people, stand there in the bathroom in the first, I think it was the first episode, wasn't it? And I don't need to see Picard standing there taking a piss. I really don't. I know that that's what he does after he drinks enough of his tea Earl Grey hot. Star Wars Kid YouTube channel has an animated video of Darth Vader choking and killing people, and that's what you're supposed to show you little kids. Show you a little kids, maybe older kids. Not sure what your point. If you're saying that Darth Vader, that Star Wars Kids YouTube channel is such a crap channel, but you know, I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that graphic violence is better. Am I advocating for graphic violence? No. And that's something that a lot of people, and here's the thing. Pointing out something that is worse is not an argument. All right? That really isn't. If I say I don't want to see harsh language in Trek because Trek is supposed to be a family show, the answer is not, well, Star Wars Kids shows Vader choking out someone. That's not an argument against or in favor of using graphic language in Star Trek. That's simply trying to redirect the conversation to something else. And I'm not approving of what Star Wars Kids does. I think that channel is absolute garbage. Star Wars Kids also tries to make it so that the only hero of the original trilogy was Leia. In the Savage Avengers, they fight against the Hand. It's bleeding for the good cause. All right. But Alexander, you are clearly in another universe right now. Darren says, I found out the other day there's a USS naval vessel called Defiant. It's a tugboat. So there's a U.S. naval vessel called the Defiant. It's a tugboat, so no USS before the name. That's funny. I always had and always will maintain that words only have power we give them. The only true words of power are those breathed by of God. I understand that, Aberjam, and I agree with you. However, there's also such a thing as being civil and being polite. And, you know, and using that kind of language in front of children is neither. So you've never seen Dark Mirror or Killjoys either. Dark Matter or Killjoys either. Dark Matter was canceled, but Killjoys finished the story arc. Good show. What does that have to do with anything? Say that someone has an ass face isn't cursing, it would only be impolite. Well, it depends. If you're using the term ass correctly, as in a donkey, you'd be correct. If Secret Hideout Star Trek used Klingon and Romulan curse words instead of real ones, people would be there saying they're copying Firefly. Best just not to do it at all. Well, I'm not saying everybody should be running around saying patak, but at least not unless they started doing that in the TNG days. I'm certainly not saying that they should be just running around saying it all the time. But I also don't care for all the rest of this crap. Shouldn't Sir Patrick know all about that dialogue stuff? The writers are oblivious to and say something about it. You would think so, but here's the problem, Piano Dean, and this is where a lot of people really, really miss the boat on Patrick Stewart. All right, don't get me wrong. I love Patrick Stewart in Star Trek The Next Generation. I like him in Picard a whole lot. Loved him in Excalibur. Loved him in Dune. He's a great actor. Right? However, the man is a left-wing nut job. All right? Look, Patrick Stewart is he's every bit as far left as Brie Larson or Ryan Johnson or any of the rest of those wackos in Hollywood. He said that the only reason he was willing to come back to Trek was because they were going to make it about how horrible Trump was. So let's not pretend that Patrick Stewart gives a damn about the language. He doesn't. He's probably one of those people that thinks that kids should be exposed to this stuff. Because it's the real world. I was told so many uses the Lord's name when somebody goes wrong, using his name to curse the situation, but really when things go right or in Thanksgiving. Well, but here's the thing, it's like if somebody says, "Oh, thank God," and they're being sarcastic, that's taking the Lord's name in vain, isn't it? And let's see. Not sure if this is, okay. I'm not sure what the point of that is, but okay. I use a lot of insults that are not cursing. I proved it on the Discord channel. Yeah, well, We're not going to get into that one right now. Fractal says the best interpretation for the commandment, take the Lord's name in vain, is actual Hebrew version, specifically in the context of using God's name for a false oath. Well, the interesting thing about using God's name for a false oath as well is that, of course, in the New Testament it says don't take an oath at all, right? What's a Star Wars Kids? What's Star Wars Kids? Star Wars Kids is a actual YouTube put out by Lucasfilm or Disney or whatever, and it's basically rewriting Star Wars history that Leia was the only true hero. They show little like short animations of different things from Star Wars. I think that if Star Trek is more gory than pro wrestling, they've gone too far. Well, they've definitely gone too far then, but they've been that far for a long time. But you know, it's just one of those things. The image behind me looks off. Yes, the green screen is a little fuzzy right now. I'm trying to mess with it a little bit. Let me see. Don't know if it's the angle of the lights, or it might be the white balance too. There's a couple of things that I've been messing with the camera and the lights, and yeah, obviously haven't gotten it perfected. But the hopefully it'll be better after tomorrow, because I'm getting an upgraded camera tomorrow. I don't know if I'll have it installed by the time I do my live stream tomorrow night, though. Anyway, another good comparison. Sex is still around in the future, but they don't need to put it on screen. Cursing is the same way for me. Hint towards it, fine, but draw the line there. I agree. You know, we obviously, yeah, people still reproduce, but we don't need to see it. We certainly don't need to watch Klingons raping people. Well, I don't agree with Star Wars Kids channel. I would have to show it. I wouldn't. Well, I also don't agree with Star Wars Kids channel. I wouldn't have shown it to young kids. I wouldn't have either. For multiple reasons. Just show them Star Wars. And you know what, kids, here's the thing. Star Wars doesn't have graphic... I mean, yeah, the most graphic thing that happens in the first Star Wars is the one dude gets his arm chopped off, right? And yeah, that's pretty harsh. But you know what? Bambi's mom gets shot and killed, right? It's not like kids can't handle that. It's just that you have to present it in such a way that you show that this, you know, now, you know, that what's going on. You have to make it very clear what's right and what's wrong. Why is it okay for Obi-Wan to have cut that guy's arm off, but it's not okay, for example, for Darth Vader to choke out that one officer? Is it clear enough so that a child can understand what's going on? I think in the case of Star Wars, it is. Hashtag free Andy, she's made a break for it. Run Auntie, flee Turtistan. Well, Rational Roundtable says, yeah, she has two beds down here. She just moved to the other one. She's sleeping on the other one where there's not, and the camera's not on that one right now. I'm trying to get things arranged in here as best as I can. Varu was Riker's line. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to argue with you on it. Didn't mean to confuse you. Was just surprised you never heard of Defiance. Those two shows came out not long after Defiance ended. You'd like them. I might, but I don't have any freaking time. Darren says, I did like the scene in Enterprise when Mira Hoshi translated what a Tholian said to Mira Archer, and she said something about your maternal ancestor. Was that, well, I think she said something like that about interpreting Klingons, too. Neo before Michael Burnham. Yes, he's quite a liberal jackass. Love him, though. Exactly, that's the thing. You know, Patrick Stewart is a jackass, but he's an incredible actor who happens to be a jackass. Using the Lord name and the lore name isn't the same thing. That's true. Average, I agree it's important to mind our manners. It's such a shame we as a society place such an importance on the power of words. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so overly sensitive. Well, the funny thing is that we also have thrown manners out the window. Manners don't matter anymore. People just think, why should it matter? Oh, come on. Can't you it's just a word. What's your problem? You know, so people don't care about being polite. People don't care about being concerned for other people. People have dehumanized people, which is sick to me. But that's what where we're at as a society. We no longer give a crap about people. And instead, we're either constantly trying to offend other people or too busy being offended to realize it. I consider bad words referencing excrement, body parts of the first part of procreation to be vulgarity rather than swearing, cursing, or profanity. Well, I understand, but, you know, whatever you want to call it, I'm not in favor of using it in front of kids. I like the reaction to Link and the Discord reference. Glad you like that. The very top of the green screen looks fine. Yeah, that's because that part's not actually the green screen. It's complicated, but the camera image starts right where that line is. And I think it's because I have to adjust the lighting a little bit and the camera settings are a little off. Which I haven't spent a lot of time on the camera settings since I've adjusted the lights, mainly because of the fact that I know that the camera will be gone after tomorrow. So it's like, well, do I really need to worry about it? So like if I bring the camera settings up here and I start messing around with the white balance a little bit, I might be able to, let's see, no, that's not going to help it. Let's try, I wonder if it's the color saturation. There we go. There we go. But you see now my face is all messed up. So we need to adjust the white balance. See, it's kind of a weird thing with the settings. There we go. Isn't that great? So need to like bring that there, bring the saturation down a hair. So it's kind of a weird thing trying to get it balanced so that it picks up the green nicely, but doesn't make me look like Donald Trump. So that's kind of what I'm trying to deal with. But with the other camera is a much higher resolution camera and better color palette as well, so it should look much, much better after tomorrow. Indeed, do not swear an oath. This is why I do not make promises. Only God can ensure them. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Exactly. Now there are times when it's actually required, you know, like if you're in court and you have to give testimony, but that's kind of different. I like your shirt. Thank you, Alexander. Deck Crash says too soon. Not sure why you said that. Just to warn you guys, I only have about 9 minutes before I got to wrap it up. So just to warn you, I may not get to every chat in there. So I'll try. I know you don't care about political views of actors, but there's something that would get you so mad about one that makes you stop watching their movies, such as Crime on Kid. Well, there's a difference there, Thomas, between... because you know I've talked about this guy before, Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski belongs in a freaking jail cell, right? He absolutely does. It makes me sick that the man is living in luxury. And he broke people. He destroyed lives. He is an absolute monster and was convicted of having sex with a child. All right? In fact, he pled guilty. It was part of a plea deal. So the man was convicted. Then he fled the country. And he's been living the life of luxury outside of the country. People in Hollywood have been constantly saying how poor Roman Polanski, he's an exiled hero. We need Roman Polanski back. The man is a child molester. And you have these Hollywood nut jobs defending him. Meanwhile, oh, wow, somebody grabbed that chick's butt. You better cancel them. Better Me Too them. Oh, my God, Harvey Weinstein, right? And yet you have a convicted child molester that they're defending. Sick. It's absolutely sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. Now, that being said, Rosemary's Baby is still an awesome movie. All right? So that's the problem, is that while I cannot stand Roman Polanski, I find him to be, I know that the God and the Bible demand that I love even the worst of people, and I struggle with people like Roman Polanski, right? I absolutely do. But I can't deny Rosemary's Baby is an awesome movie. I can't deny the man knows how to make a movie. That being said, he needs to serve his time. And of course, now it's too late. Even if he did come into the United States and got arrested and thrown into a prison, he'd die anyway. And so, yeah, he's completely proven that with enough money, you can be above the law. And that is sick and wrong. Anyway, Today, this is Men's Day in Russia. Russian girls share a picture of them disguised as sexy soldiers all over the social medias. I'm nonstop cursing of the delightful all day. Whatever. I don't know what that means. Disney's going to do a live-action Bambi. Oh, jeez. And I'm sure, yeah, this time they're going to make sure that the hunters all have a southern accent, are named Cletus, and have like 3 teeth and drive a pickup truck, and are married to their cousins. I had a dream that I had a mini cupcake. I only now just realized it was a dream. I'm sorry. I like mini cupcakes. Kids will have Nickelodeon animated Star Trek show at some point. Yeah, I know. I hope it's good. My favorite graphic content is when Robin dies. I hate Robin. Robin is a useless character when deserving to die and not coming back. I hate Robin. Wow. Okay. Some idiot on a message board once got after me for not calling Patrick Stewart Sir Patrick Stewart. I'm like, I'm not British subject, so shut up and eat your fish and chips. I know. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I don't give a crap about his knighthood because. And here's the thing. And if I were British, I wouldn't either because here, the stupid thing is, why are we giving out knighthoods just because someone can pretend well? That's all Patrick Stewart's contribution to society has been. He's very. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's a bad actor, he's a great actor. But the man has a talent for playing pretend, and he gets a freaking knighthood for that? What the hell? Orange turd bad. Alright, I'm sorry, I know, the orange turd thing. But you see, I just try not to, sit there messing. You see, now that's kind of a bluish. That's the problem, this camera, it's like, you're either oversaturated, or you break the green screen, so... Yeah, I'm not going to even worry about it right now. There's a Batman comic 1972 titles How Many Ways Robin Can Die. On the cover, we see the feet of Robin like he's hung in a church. I bought it and I put it on my wall. Wow, you are a sick man. Got bored today. Took an hour number 3, 31 minutes into the last night live stream. You can see me breaking Alexander. Oh, okay. Hour number 3, 31 minutes into the last. Okay, that's when you broke Alexander. I'll have to try to find it. Well, I love when I got Alexander, when we got him about the trolling thing. That was hilarious. See, now Alexander's biting comments just don't have the same bite now that we know he's a troll. Oaths are indeed required in court, but this is a man-made requirement, which is ironically in direct contradiction to the exact verse. I know, that is kind of funny. Harvey Weinstein is getting the treatment Roman Polanski should be getting. Agreed. I can't believe you like Rosemary's Baby. Maybe it's just me. I don't like movies like that. Omen, Exorcist, etc. I'm not saying it's my favorite movie. I'm just saying it's very well made. To say nothing of balking of the accusation of Epstein not killing himself. Well, I'm not even going there. This SJW Hollywood gang who screech so loudly and call everyone not in their group are evil, and the very ones who praise Polanski. Yeah, exactly, it's sick. And Darren points out, yeah, Hollywood's support of Woody Allen. Great call out on that one. Woody Allen is another beautiful example where they think that because he's an artist, it's perfectly okay that he has sex with children. Patrick Stewart was made to watch an interview he gave right before TNG and launched, and his own arrogance embarrassed. And his own arrogance should still be embarrassing him, but it doesn't. Tom says, "Are you excited for a new Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movie?" No. And I can't believe they're not calling it Honey, I Shrank the Grandkids. Are you? Alexander says, but drawn, this is Robin, this is Robin. But Dawn, this is Robin, this is Robin. Huh? Slaying a dragon should still be a requirement for knighthood, since Bree and Hillary are the only 2 left. Competition will be tight. That's... Oh, man. You got me there. I like that. That's a good one, Everjab. By the way, Everjab, I listened to your song that you gave to Bunny Boy, DJ. Pretty good. Exactly. Why would anyone care what the Hollywood elitist actors think about anything political? They're professional pretenders entitled to their opinions, but yeah, whatever. Exactly. I don't give a crap who George Clooney's going to vote for. I really don't care. But the problem is that, and this is the, and this is the sad thing. I know that most of the people that subscribe to my channel are above average intelligence, but remember, half the population has an IQ of 100 or less. These are the people that look at someone like George Clooney talking about who you should vote for and go, yeah, George Clooney's smart because, he was in Ocean's 11. Alexander says, I'm not a troll. I just laugh because fake not to know, because fake to not know what is the disease. Everyone knows what's the disease. You make me laugh by trolling me. You know what is the disease. I have no idea what you're talking about on that one, Alexander. And yes, you are a troll. You admitted it, and so you can't come back from that one, buddy. Is it selfish that God should create mankind to worship him? If not, why not? And if so, then why is that okay? Well, why is it okay if God created man to worship him? Because the entire existence of the universe is what pleases God. It's his universe, and so why would that not be okay? Is it wrong, for example, for you to create something simply so that you can enjoy it? Right? Why is it that people, I'm not talking about the modern vernacular with Hollywood idiots and stuff, but most people that create art to enjoy that art, right? Most people that and the art can take all sorts of forms, whether it be to paint or photography, or for some people, even playing games like simulation games like The Sims or something like that, because they managed to create this perfect world for their Sims. Well, guess what? You're doing the same thing as God. Is that wrong? No. Other than the Romulans standing in for immigrants, I haven't seen anything too woke in Picard yet. Honestly, it hasn't been too bad. I know some people are like, oh my God, all the women. And there have been a disproportionate number of women to men. But the ironic thing is that also pretty much all the baddies have been women so far, except for the one Romulan dude. And I thought that was interesting. That reminds me of how many dragons in your time have you killed? That's funny. Alexander says, I'm intelligent. If you have to say you're intelligent, that's a problem. Resolute says, I guess he confused you with Cinnabon. I'm not sure what I said. Daniel says, I wonder who is the Conclave of 8? This is to be a union between the Tal Shiar Section 31 and the Obsidian Order. I was thinking about that too, Daniel. I don't know who the Conclave of 8 is, and whether it's just, maybe that really is just a crazy conspiracy theory of Rafi's. But the weird thing is that it doesn't make sense that it would be the Tal Shiar Section 31 and Obsidian Order, because that would be the Conclave of 3. See what I'm saying? So you would need to have 8 for it to be a Conclave of 8. But yeah, that might be later on in the series. You know what is a disease in You know what is the disease in California. You again try to fake it that you don't know the disease in California. You are the troll on that. Alexander, you're the troll for saying it. I don't, and I've said before, there is no California disease. Now, if you're referring to that one certain person and what you keep saying about that person, which by the way is patently false, and as he pointed out himself on that live stream where we broke you, that's not even technically a disease. It's a condition, but it's not a disease. But I understand that English isn't your first language, so maybe you don't know the difference from an English perspective. I'm not saying that you're an idiot. But you're the one that's constantly talking about the disease in California, right? You're the one that said you hate this one person, you don't regret it, and yet we should, all let you go back into the chat rooms with him. Don't understand that at all. A lot of people don't get that God is not subject to human judgment. That's true. But that's the thing. We want to put ourselves... And Aberjam's not doing this. Don't get me wrong. I know Aberjam's just asking questions. But the thing is that a lot of people will basically... They judge God based on their own human understanding of things. And that, quite frankly, is just kind of stupid. You pretend that I don't like Jar Jar Binks. You pretend that I don't like Jar Jar Binks and I don't like many deaths in movies. I really think The Final Frontier is a masterpiece. I'm sure you do. Piondine says there have been 5 Picard episodes so far, and everyone, I think, a woman has been chewed out Picard in some fashion. I don't know. You might be right. Aberdeen says, is it okay for us to create for our own pleasure, but would it be okay for us to demand our children to worship us? Well, we should be. A parent demands their children respect them. And, and in fact, a lot of people take, like, when the Bible says fear of God is similar to the fear of your father that you would naturally have. So, I don't know. Good question. There probably be others in the Conclave of 8. We just don't know them. Maybe the Zat Vash are the leaders. Could be. Stephen Ernest says, there's a God? Well, I think there is. Anyway, I do need to wrap it up, guys, because I got to go to work in just a little bit. But thank you for hanging out with me. If I'm up to it, I will do a stream on the Anti-Trekker channel tonight after work. And so, with that, have a good one. And yes, Alexander, I love you, man, but you are a troll. And, of course, the credits don't play. Man, that would have been so perfect, too, as far as the timing of it. But no, now I got to go back and go close that. And
making your way with the nerds today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from hating JJ sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to just get laid? Sometimes you wanna go where all the Trekkies know your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be in a galaxy where Star Trek isn't lame. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Turds of a feather flock together, that's what we believe. We know a place that's got you covered, a place to get relief. Wouldn't you like to say me Pooh? Sometimes you wanna go where Turnistenes know your name, and all Kurogans are to blame. You wanna be where you can see Kuroga go up in flames. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
You son of a bitch, Anti-Trekker!